A visual example of how a small group of people can change the world is what I call the blanket demonstration. Human consciousness can be imagined as a grid, an interlocking network similar to the woven threads of a blanket. Place a blanket on the ground. The blanket represents human consciousness, the consciousness of all humanity. With the blanket flat on the ground, it represents a flat consciousness for everyone. There is no change yet. Now have one person bend over and using their fingers, slightly lift up one corner of the blanket about 4 inches. Notice that as they lift up the corner, a portion of the blanket lifts up as well. Why? Because all the threads of the blanket are connected. The corner is not separate from the rest of the blanket. Now have the person on the diagonal side slightly lift up their corner of that blanket. Again, a small portion of the blanket lifts up. The majority of the blanket is still on the ground. When all 4 corners are lifted 4 inches, a larger portion of the blanket is lifted off the ground, but still a portion of the blanket is on the ground. Finally, if all 4 corners are lifted 18 inches off the ground, the entire blanket is now off the ground. The center still hangs lower than the rest of the blanket, but all of the connected threads have left the ground because they are connected to the corners that have lifted higher in the air. The threads closer to the corners are almost as high as the corners themselves. And in the same way that the blanket was lifted by a small number of corners lifting off the ground, human consciousness can be lifted by a small group of people who lift up their consciousness. In this demonstration, it took only 4 points, the corners, to lift all of the threads off the ground. In a similar fashion, it takes only a small number of people who raise their consciousness to raise the consciousness of humanity.
All 4?